I'm just gonna close chat because it will distract me. So you can all send me your praises on Instagram afterwards. Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm Ash from Babe World, and I'm here to talk to you today about how perfect and mentally stable I am. So, for those of you who don't know Babe World, we are a collective made up of like nerdy autistic freaks based across London and Stoke-on-Trent. There's me, Ash, Ingrid, who's like probably stuck on a train somewhere because she always is, and Gabby, who is the person who's camera off right now. We originally formed as a collective for like a want, need, urge, desire to carve out a space for marginalized sex workers in the arts. While this is something we still look at, we've kind of expanded the focus of our work because, you know, there's only so many dick sucking jokes I can make before people start to just get uncomfortable. So we make films, installations, host workshops, do talks, basically like hustle any money that we can get to support our video game addiction. We'll basically go anywhere in the UK that has a CEX or a Forbidden Planet, win if it's got both. But our work is kind of like, what if three mentally unstable people had access to Adobe and actually hated the fact that they felt pressure to make art like at all when they can barely get out of bed? But to be serious, we're like video game, Dungeons and Dragons, anime nerds, indoor activities. We like to use popular culture as points of reference to create auto-fiction works around the marginalized experience, what it means to be represented, and creating work under capitalist structures. I'm just going to like talk a tiny bit about our recent works, not too much, don't worry, no like 45-minute long clips of me like writhing around in dirt. But to be serious, our most recent work, Love is Real and It's Inside of My Computer, and No Sleep, Just Clouds, are probably the most accurate representation of our current working practice. Love is Real, which was shown at Grand Union in Birmingham, is a film, and it was an installation as well, but the bit we're going to show is a film, which reflected on the like ever ubiquitous need within the arts to have new and innovative ideas. It's told through the eyes of like a neurodivergent character and plays on the structures of the gallery and art world, basically like asking us to question and renegotiate how we define what is considered new or exciting or like taste making in the arts. So I'm just going to show like a 2-minute clip quickly. You may be wondering why I'm doing bicep curls with my gorgeous pink 1 kilogram dumbbells in the kitchen, lol. Well, my laptop is no longer a terrifying force demanding ideas. The Word documents are at capacity. I am the idea generator. I am full to the brim. I can move on with my life. My arms are on fire. Ignore the overly decorated walls. This is about me. I may be shaking, but I will drink this tiny coffee in my hand. It's a Sailor Moon mug. Cute, right? If I had anyone to talk to about my ideas, they tell me to sleep on it for at least a week, you know. Mull it over. But who am I kidding? I don't sleep. Who is Sleep? I don't know her. I wish I had more hands so I could go on all 3 laptops in front of me at once. And much like the walls, the laptops are overly decorated with very gay-looking stickers. I have a surplus of tabs open on my laptop and phone. Time to add more. I can reinstall WhatsApp and send those long messages to people I've been ignoring. I should tell Alice and Jason I don't want to come over for Christmas. But I don't. Is it a waste to use a whole cucumber just for 2 slices for your eyes? I don't know. I'm going to put these on, and then I'll convince myself that I'll use the rest to make a healthy salad later. The green of the cucumber matches perfectly with my avocado clay face mask I've got on. Very chic. Time to lay back and relax. I can finally open that Sporkle tab and push myself to name the other 25 US states I've been drawing blanks on. The time has been stopped at 5 minutes 21 seconds for days, but I think it's finally time for me to conquer the Midwest. Yellow marigolds, on. Back, aching. Table, it's getting scrubbed. Now that I've finally pinned down the idea, I can finally pick up my Switch and play all those games that I panic bought myself as motivation to finish work. As research. I can walk the restless dog that's been whining for days. I could tidy my room. All things that I've been putting off because I've been on airplane mode because of this big menacing to-do. I've been scrubbing this coffee table for 30 minutes and the mark's still not moved. Phone in one hand, tiny mic in the other, typing through the backache, let's go. In bed, instead of scrolling through the celebrity gossip subreddit, I go back to the Word documents that I made, hunched over and obsessing.
This Hoover is the most expensive thing I own in my flat. It's like my child. I will protect it with my life. I think this spot's still a bit dirty. I'm going to keep going. Anyway, I make new drafts of the documents and then diligently prepare for fictional meetings that I then play out in my head. I think I'll tell Heather that I like her hair and that I slept in late, even though I didn't.
Me just like, why am I like this? Anyway, sorry. So that was real. We're just gonna show you one more thing, which is No Sleep, Just Clouds, which was shown at Level Center and Art House.
You may be wondering.
Now is not your time, Queen. No Sleep, Just Clouds, which was shown at Level Center and Art House as part of the Unlimited Partner Awards. And it's a film which follows a protagonist exploring a mission to create like the ultimate piece of work, but basically they can't because they get too distracted because they're a little bit crazy. And it's basically using like autobiographical narratives to explore the obsession of the protagonist in order to provide distraction, which in this case is clouds, in case of being able to actually make art. And it's basically like investigating the experience of like autistic and neurodivergent people in the creative sector and like becoming like obsessive with things and like what the worth of things is with stuff like that, and like how we kind of like struggle and thrive to be productive under capitalism, because like what if I just want to make a 20-minute long film about like anime clouds and I just want to be about anything. So yeah, here's a clip from that.
So after doing all this research, I did what any person would do and went on a hunt for the perfect blue sky. I tried to understand measuring clouds in octaves, but unfortunately it involved maths, and I thought I found an article on clear skies yassification, but it turned out it was classification, which I was less interested in. I ran a best cloud experiment and implemented a quantitative assessment framework that comprehensively encompassed a spectrum of relevant and salient categories, including how much do I want to bounce on the cloud and how much does the blue burn my eyes. I thought if I'd find the perfect blue sky, I'd find the perfect conditions to create work. I'd reach freedom, have my moment of reckoning and clarity. The blue sky will be the replacement for my perfect conditions to create art. Everything anyone had ever said to me that had caused discomfort in creative space would be erased, and I'd create the perfect art piece. The end. Except it wasn't the end. As I ran for months, searching for the perfect blue sky, I never found it, but I couldn't deal with that conclusion. If I couldn't find the perfect blue sky naturally, I had to find an alternative. I tried a VR headset, but got stuck in a fashion show at the Metaverse and couldn't get out. I bought a movie called Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs for $4.99, but it turns out the clouds are made of meatballs. I mean, it said a chance of meatballs, so I thought I'd give it a go. I realised these virtual clouds on headsets weren't going to cut it. I needed more. I felt like a maliciously neglected sim stuck in the social experiment of a bored child looking to speedrun some trauma. My capacity for life dropping as my food, energy, fun and hygiene depleted. My mania around all things clouds was increasing, and I was losing grasp on reality and my own self. My friends became worried as I became more obsessive. With nowhere left to turn, I asked ChatGPT for some mental health advice around my manic obsession with clouds. It confirmed everything I already knew. I was excessively watching clouds, had grandiose feelings about clouds, and irrational anger and annoyance towards anyone who didn't share my obsession or understanding. As I sat alone, with my flat can of Dr. Pepper and desperation to reach the sky, I begged ChatGPT to help fix me. I couldn't carry on like this for much longer. And the response? The response was interesting. It told me, it's natural to have hobbies and interests, and if you're passionate about clouds and want to capture the perfect cloud or experience clouds in a particular way, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. So you heard it here first. There's nothing inherently wrong with me.
Okay, before I move to the next section, I just want to do like a little shout out to Alessandro, who is also Utopian Realism, who does all of our sound for our films that you've just seen. He is great. You should go follow him. He makes really good music. He's just released more music. Go buy it on Bandcamp. Thanks. Okay, carrying on. Both of these works have a focus on perfectionism.
So after doing all this research, I did what any person...
Honestly, I'm going to start throwing hands soon. Both of these works have focus on perfectionism, the performance of perfectionism, the lengths we go to be perfect, and the adverse effects that this can have on a person's physical and mental health. Maybe, to get us warmed up, I could describe what perfectionism feels like to me right now. I could do it quite easily. So, perfectionism to me is like a weighted blanket. but one that is 100 times too heavy. And even though after like 15 hours of rotting in bed, I'm finally ready to get up and do something, I cannot physically find the strength to push this blanket that is perfectionism off. Perfectionism feels like being asked, a quick favor. Hey, Ash, can you send over an artist bio? Do you have an updated budget for me? I mean, sure, but I find myself unable to finish this favor as quickly as promised because suddenly I need to rewrite my entire artist bio because even though I can't put my finger on why, it's just not the best it could be. And that updated budget, well, the numbers are there and they add up, but it's not being released from the captivity of my desktop and into the wild because I can't find the perfect pastel color coding for the spreadsheet. And that to me is perfectionism. And when I think of perfectionism, I think about being in primary school and I think about my mum's like underwhelmed, disinterested response at the Mother's Day card that I'd spent like the whole day making in class. I'd drawn her favorite flowers, I picked the glitter in her favorite colors, and I thought, like even making and giving her this card was such a selfless gesture, being that like, she never really got me cards, not even on my birthday. So anyway, on presenting her with my masterpiece, I remember her disinterested glance and like a non-committal And then later she moaned, "There's fucking glitter everywhere, Ash. What am I supposed to do with this?" And now when I have a commission or when I make anything really, I picture my creation, much like that card, ending up hastily chucked in the bin, not even the recycling. And my therapist may very kindly say that the card situation was not a reflection of me or my creative outputs, but instead a reflection of an unnourishing environment in which I was never allowed to thrive. But all of the therapy in the world will not allow me to understand that this Mother's Day card situation as anything of a failure of my creativity. So when I look back, I see a situation and decades of consequential self-loathing that could have been avoided if I had just made that card a bit more perfect. And because of this, everything that I create must now be perfect. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you underwhelmed by my own like imperfect, overly emotive ramblings about like what perfectionism is. I mean, I probably just got that wrong anyway. But one thing that I have learned in my constant struggle to make my work a high enough standard for everyone and their auntie is to throw in some references. Because, it's like, people see my work as elevated if I frame my experiences via the work of others. And by others, I mean those like perfect published white men, like the ones who have like a short introduction to books written about them. So like all perfect lectures, I'll dive into the theorists and thinkers whose ideas might give what I want to say some credibility. Hold on, Pepsi Max break. Okay. Let's start by thinking about perfectionism and psychology. So across all the psychoanalysis bros, we find diverse models of what perfectionism is, but I'm going to go straight to the big dog, Freud. He viewed perfectionism as a form of obsessional neuroses. Okay, tick, obsessional neuroses has got me to where I am today, so thank you. He said that perfectionism is the high standards of our superego clashing with our impulses to inflict sadistic impulses on oneself. Again, very me, tick, tick. Part of his theory was that perfectionism stems from a need to procrastinate. He suggests what happens is the ego recognizes a threat is presented by a particular task, and therefore we procrastinate and avoid the task to protect ourselves and therefore our reputation. Okay, so Mr. Freud, your theories are telling me that the culmination of my life experience has created a need to control my environments, achieve high standards, and punish myself in the process. Okay, sure, that's nothing I'd need to pay £180 for a therapy session to learn. I could probably get some Muji pens and bullet journal for 10 seconds to find that out without myself, to be honest. So who else? Well, there is Lacan, and his Wikipedia tells me that he is the most controversial psychoanalyst since Freud. Okay, hot. But what about perfectionism? He seemed to think that it was tied to an excessive need for structure. Again, very me, tick. I wrote this lecture 6 months ago. I logged into Zoom before I'd even received the email inviting me to speak. And the more I become a scholar, of all things related to the study of the mind, the more difficult it becomes to neatly condense and discuss what all the theories of perfectionism are. Because you see, some psychologists think perfectionism is a uniform thing, like you're either perfectionist or you're not. It's as simple as that. It's like a stable trait that some people lack. And then Other thinkers see it as kind of like multidimensional and fluid. So this means that, perfectionism might pop its head up for different people at different times. So I find myself lacking definitive answers, like, is perfectionism one thing we do or do not have, or is it like a multidimensional and fluid force that randomly appears? I guess defining perfection is like as elusive as being perfect. But when I think about how like I haphazardly make my way through the art world, I recognize perfectionism has like played a major part in all those things. And like, yes, maybe the Freuds and Lacans and the mental health crisis team are right. The preoccupation with perfectionism is probably down to my childhood and neuroticism and self-sabotage and being mentally ill. But also, why is this drive to be perfect my fault? And why is wanting to be perfect such a bad thing? It is all well and good deep diving lots of famous psychologist bros' interpretations of perfection, but with each, a short introduction to book, when I read it to research this, I find myself closing the book and thinking, well, I'm a bit shit, aren't I? So today, I want to center the idea of perfectionism, how it impacts us, and how it manifests in our interactions with society within the art world, from kind of like a different point of view. Generally, I think the art sector has created a very easy environment for like a person to be judged in very individualistic ways. So like, as an artist, I often need to remind myself that I work in conditions where I must strive to be particularly perfect in very imprecise settings. So like settings where the requirements for perfection are just so unclear that I must work extra hard to achieve it in all areas, because, risk and failure are pinned firmly on the artist. The artist is the highly evaluated individual, because and achieving perfection seems to be one of the only shields to avoid this, right? Because any imperfections allows notions of collaboration and partnership to shatter. And then I am left filling out dense feedback forms about what I could have done better and how I've proved my value to them. The idea of perfection has increasingly polluted the art sector's way of standard setting, like I'm asked to create experimental, risky, innovative things that are also perfectly measurable and objectively quantifiable. And ironically, this sector that petulantly demands perfection is a sector that in itself fails to do anything to ensure it gets like even a tiny bit better. But anyway, one of my main problems in general when it comes to like pretty much anything is like I'm a maxer. I can't just simply do something and like enjoy it and then stop when I'm done with it. I must like enjoy it to the most perfect manner, like to the absolute maximum. I must know the most, I must consume the most, I must engage the most. And then like I use all that knowledge to like create fake scenarios in my head, like role playing out scenarios of me just like showing off all the knowledge I have. Like I'm picturing myself at a party, sipping a warm red Stripe in some random dude's house where like the carpet is stained with the outline of a dead mouse. And then I overhear someone mention Hassan Piker, and this is the moment I've been waiting for, right? It's my time to shine. I casually lean my head over and say, did you know when he did his surprise talk at Cambridge Union, I happened to be in Cambridge for a residency. And so I slept with someone I met 2 years ago at a club night to get a ticket. And after the talk, I even got to ask a question. And I asked him whether he would consider shifting to being exclusively an ASMR streamer. I told him about how I thought ASMR was essential to strengthening the future of a unified left. And then I explained how ASMR could do this, right? How it would create this like post-human structure of collective feeling with a shared bodily pleasure and a collaborative digital modality across socialists everywhere. But anyway, in my head, the people at the party are staring at me in awe as I give this account and demonstrate like how big, fat, and juicy my brain is. I apply my need and hunt for perfectionism to many things on varying scales of difficulties, such as toast. Difficulty easy, you want that perfect golden brown, butter right up to the edge. I even invested in a butter knife for it, especially. Picking a YouTube video to watch at 4 a.m. Difficulty medium. Too engaging, you're awake for the day. Too boring, you'll just click through forever. Finding the perfect medium is hard, but not impossible. And when in doubt, there's always a video of some random guy building a pool out of mud. Winged eyeliner, difficulty impossible. I'm not even going to get into this. I've just learned like the more you try and fix it, the worse it gets. Just like succumb to the beast and let it defeat you. But But these levels of perfection difficulties punctuate my day. They are pretty much all that stop my days blurring together, in fact. Time goes even slower when I do something and do something imperfectly, because like suddenly I find myself paralyzed, like unable to move on to the next task as I become bogged down with my failure to achieve perfection in some other menial to do. Think of my personal drive for perfection as some kind of like anxious artist Olympics, and all that stands between me and that juicy gold medal is me. I am the judge, I am the audience, I am the athlete. So let's have a quick look through it on a normal like day-to-day life. Okay. So start the productive bit of my day by checking the post. Easy. I go downstairs to the foyer of my flat, grab handfuls of envelopes, kebab takeaway menus, missed delivery notes. I like to unplug the doorbell at night when I'm anxious, so I often miss the post. Like, you know, as though the hat man would like knock on before he came in. But I go back upstairs and I think to myself, perfect. I may be out of breath, but the post is now in my flat. I make a mental to-do list to open all the posts in a few weeks. What a nice little aperitif to start my day. It takes me a couple of hours to follow through with task 2, and as time passes, I grow bitter, realizing now that I fobbed myself off a bit with task 1. It was too easy. Time to flagellate myself with the real stuff, calling Arts Council England. Got to reset that Grantian password, make that money. And I spend way too much time on the preparation, you know, like vocal warm-ups, because I haven't spoken to anyone in days, and then perfecting my best like casual yet serious hot shit artist voice, you know, like how much wood would a woodchuck chuck, etc. And then I ended up on Reddit r/woodchucks because I wanted to find out exactly how much a woodchuck would chuck and exactly what a woodchuck even does. And then anyway, back to Ace, and then it was time to make the call, and I'm perfectly prepared. The lovely Ace employee on the other end of the phone is happy to reset my password. She guides me through the process, yet I am thrown at the final hurdle. My greatest fear, unexpected curveball. Ellie asked me to clarify the answer to my secret question. Who is your favorite Married at First Sight contestant? And although my password is eventually reset, after the call, I feel regretful. Did I ever explain my justifications to my secret question answer? Was it actually a secret test to see if I had some kind of opinion of someone who was worthy of funding? Okay, bad gameplay, low mission score, onto an easy side quest. Time to make a perfect meal. Noodle cup, just add water, perfection. Then I wind up my daily grind with a quick hour answering emails. Each email is more painful than the last, but this bit is kind of okay because at least I can benchmark each response with Ingrid and Gabby to make sure that they are in fact perfect. But the problem with all of these things is I will never truly know if they were or not perfect. Yes, I think to myself proudly in bed, I got all the posts, but as I lay and stare at the ceiling, I'm sure I've missed something important. And I start thinking, well, unless I hunt Ellie from Arts Council down, I'll never be able to ask her, who is your favourite Married at First Sight contestant? And unless I make 10 noodle cups with different kinds of water, you know, different water hardness, boiled differently, I'll never know if that was truly the perfect noodle cup. And maybe if I was more adventurous, I'd look beyond my favorite foods and I find some instant noodles so nice that they knock the trusty noodle cup out of the park. And unless I attach an evaluation form to the end of every single email asking, how did I do? With a rating between 1 to 5 for the recipients to assess tone, clarity, friendliness, I will never know. And then I find myself drifting off with like fully formed ideas of my email evaluation form so clear in my head. And then the next day I find myself grieving as I try to remember what these now forgotten forms look like, but I can't like grasp onto anything concrete to action. As part of preparing for this lecture, I've been reflecting on this and how, in fact, like I've also been learning without realizing how to get a better vantage point on my drive to perfection. Because like once my therapist taught me a mantra, she told me to remind myself that I am not the center of everyone's world when I'm catastrophizing. So if I can't sleep because I think my overly precise coffee order ruined the barista's day, I remind myself that they probably won't even give it a second thought because, you know, I am not the center of the barista's world. As I think about perfectionism, I realize that it is not a standard I want to throw away, but it is instead a metric by which I want to learn to live my life without being self-destructive in the process. Because, you know, I'm proud to have high standards and I'm proud to hold myself to high standards. I'm just not proud of the way the standards gnaw at me, even when the moment has passed. So like, yes, I am not the center of everyone's world. Got it. But I am the center of mine. And surely in my own world, in which I center, I am allowed to set my own standards for what perfectionism means. And I think about something that the French philosopher and writer Voltaire wrote in his 1759 novel Candide or Optimism. He wrote, "One must cultivate his own garden." These were just words that I kind of like put on a mental list of things to come back to later, because like I felt like they resonated, but I wasn't sure why. And then when I initially Googled it, the dominant literary analysis felt just like boring and unrelatable, because like by cultivate your own garden, everyone was saying Voltaire meant focus on yourself and the things that you can control. His message that, was that, people shouldn't worry about things going on outside of what they have the power to cultivate, blah, 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 blah. Heard it all before, mate. Yeah. But I had a penny drop moment. So I'm going to hinge the second half of this lecture on what that moment told me, because I finally realized what Voltaire was yapping about, because I do cultivate my own garden. I add custom trees, dirt blocks, acacia saplings, remove dirt, add wood, add leaves. I've added chickens to my garden, even name them so they don't despawn. My garden even has 2 flame pillars, fire. And one day I take a step back and look at my gorgeous pixelated oasis of a Minecraft garden, and I get it. Voltaire was a visionary. By cultivate your own garden, Voltaire had understood the comfort and safety that I could get from tending for my little Minecraft garden. He knew how I'd feel as I add the final touches to my raised vegetable beds. I'd feel complete. I'd feel confident. For once, I have perfected something. And so, yeah, in Minecraft, I found that elusive place with which to achieve perfection. Quickly, just in case you haven't like played Minecraft or heard of it or whatever, I'll run you through like what it is basically. But before telling you why I think it's been like so important in helping me like unknot the questions about perfection that like kind of haunt my life. So Minecraft is a game where you basically like build, survive, thrive, die, etc., all in block form. This hasn't always been something that I've like loved or gravitated towards. I was actually a Minecraft skeptic for years, like avoiding playing it at all costs. And then my like crazy Twitch addiction kicked in, and like I found myself watching like 8 hours of Minecraft content a day. I was like substituting leaving the house with just doing like virtual world Minecraft tours, and like lulling myself to sleep with mega builds in the background, and like drinking back-to-back coffees so I could stay away for the 24-hour block wars. In fact, I was actually in like the top 10% of all Twitch viewers in the world to watch Minecraft. But I never thought it was for me. And then months later, I found myself newlywed to like this random person I met on a random Discord discussing Elden Ring lore. And as in like, he becomes my Discord husband. It's kind of like work wife, but like for the online nerds, like I now pronounce you co-op game players till permadeath do us part. We play games every night from like around 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., switching between like ghost hunting and phasmophobia or shooting people in Fortnite. And just a quick note, like, please don't think this represents my game taste, because it doesn't. Like, if it makes it any better, I always use an anime skin for my characters. And like, Discord husband just bought me the Hatsune Miku skin, so I've been really, really rinsing that one. One night, basically, I let it slip to him that I'd never played Minecraft, and he gasped, like, how could me, gamer of the century, have never played Minecraft? And he was right. I was ashamed. Like, I let my judgment be clouded by my subconscious belief that it ultimately belonged in like cringe videos of 10-year-olds. But thou must not judge people for being cringe, or whatever the Bible said. So I gave it a go, just to shut Discord husband up. I didn't really think I'd get into it. And then 200 hours later, I find myself transferring £2.49 from my savings account to my current account to buy the baby pink axolotl skin for my character, because, I've convinced myself that I need and deserve this. And today, the game has become part of the routine. It's become sacred. Every night, can of Fanta, pack of mini cheddars, 5 hours Minecraft, because, the minds aren't going to mind themselves. Me and Discord husband switch roles of who does what, because we're just so feminist. And plus, I think the cows prefer him anyway. But it's a bit of a problem. See, when people visit my in real life house, as they start telling me about their day, I have to like hold back the urge to interrupt them by screaming, "Let me show you my Minecraft house." Because, I've tidied and cleaned my Minecraft house before they even came round. My friend came around the other day and asked me, like, what do you keep looking at? As my eyes kept darting over to the PS5 controller longingly. I've made schedules in Excel for each day for me and my husband to ensure a steady growth of our farm and resources. And I now have an A4 binder, which is color coded and highlighted with every single Minecraft recipe that exists. I dream in cubes. I yearn for the mines. But basically, it turns out Minecraft has been the perfect tool for me to grapple with my perfectionism, both as a person living my day-to-day life, but also as an artist, because I think this is because Minecraft has given me like a gentle space with which to locate my perfectionist urges. It's easy, it has a routine, you know, like a routine I can structure and shape to fit my own fluctuating energy. And when I play Minecraft, I do not find myself like racked with the fear of perfectionism. Instead, I can look at like my virtual infinite terrain and think, yep, did that one, perfecto, well done me. And if you had to ask me why Minecraft hits so hard in fulfilling my perfectionist strivings, I'd probably say because of its simple graphics, because they provide the perfect form of escapism, because they just don't resemble the real world. So when I look at my gorgeous pixels, I no longer feel the unbearable weight of the world trembling on my shoulders. Like Minecraft is an escape because it's not got that like high-powered realism or like day-to-day chores that other games might have, because like, I'm sorry, but there becomes a point in Animal Crossing where you're like, is this just a full-time job? I can't possibly fish anymore, and am I seriously working for a fucking raccoon? And these kinds of tasks can be fun in the way that they mirror real life, but also they just remind me of the million things that I should be doing instead. Minecraft holds like none of the danger of reminding me about the things I have failed to do. Its visual language does not scream the echoes of my real life to-do list at me. Instead, it whispers to me in warm tones, here is a place where perfection is possible. Drink that Fanta, diamonds to you. Just one more block and it will look flawless, but like actually flawless. And so with this in mind, I decided to take a look at the research, you know, like back up my ideas with words that are peer reviewed, make sure that the arguments that I throw out today are on solid grounds. My brain thinks in footnotes now. And maybe this academic benchmarking can even help me think about perfectionism and Minecraft more diversely, you know, so I can like flex my ability to cover every angle. Anyway, so one academic article I read about Minecraft, something in the American Journal of Bioethics, talks about mental health and how the designers of the game had rather perfectly captured the desire for one to be architects of their ecosystem. And that's me. All around are imperfections or barriers to perfection that I cannot control in my life. Yet in Minecraft, I can control my world. I can make my ecosystem perfect. I wasn't surprised to see how many studies showed strong evidence of the benefits playing Minecraft given to those with long-term mental and physical health issues, trauma, and neurodivergence. I mean, it's me. One study found that Minecraft can help those with autism find structure and process trauma due to its format. And another found that playing Minecraft was like actually really helpful in alleviating anxiety around like social and emotional skills. So like, it makes sense that how Minecraft has been useful for me. So anyway, this is all good stuff, of course. These are all ideas that I can like use to back up my train of thought, but sometimes I don't want to drive the train of thought. I want someone else to do like the final bit of the journey for me. Like, what I mean is I was looking for that like perfect bit of research to complete these ideas, you know, to like say what I want to say, but can't quite find the words for. Whereas that like a long forgotten academic article that says what I want to say, but better, etc., etc. But yeah, I find it eventually, that like mythical article that makes me realize that I'm in fact not crazy. Edward Melvin, who is a cyber psychologist, wrote this article called The Perfect Game, The Effects of Perfectionism Performance on Game Experience. And basically he says, for perfectionists, or even just people who sometimes feel pressure to be perfect, playing video games can really help. Melvin says that perfectionism and gameplay is like super unexplored in academic literature. So he's basically saying that what I'm saying today is like 100 times more innovative than anyone else. So like me and Melvin, we got the big brains over here. So there are a few conditions that Melvin found that make the most positive game playing experience for perfectionists. Firstly, it's best for perfectionists to play low stake games for like therapeutic outcomes. So no more permadeath for me. Melvin also talks about how helpful it is to find games where there is a unique balance of agency and rules that appeal to your own sense of perfectionism. which I guess is what I found in Minecraft, right? So he talks about how people, particularly perfectionists, find the presence of rules in games to be key to their escapist value, because perfectionists struggle with the lack of rules in the real world of what is perfect. Whereas a game provides a controlled context, which help us find a space where perfection can actually be achieved, but also give us permission to fail. So yeah, basically, Melvin sums up in his gorgeous 60-page magnum opus by saying that playing video games is a helpful way for those with perfectionist tendencies to be absolved from the expectations of themselves. Like virtual worlds where their concerns over mistakes and their fear of failure disappear. And for people like me, these games are a healthy escape. But also, in the words of Melvin, they're a tool that provides promising guidance on how to learn and manage perfectionism across the domains of real life. Gorgeous, no notes. However, like most things, it has a downside. Minecraft can also be viewed as a tool that enables people to engage with extractive colonialism, because when your default course of action is to exploit the environment for its resources, it creates an environment where you see others as tools used to be shaped your own world, which leads to feelings of entitlement and superiority. So, you start making out your farm with your Discord husband, and before you know it, you're speedrunning the trad wife to fascist pipeline. But when I boot up the game, I don't feel the leftism leave my body, okay? I've tried to play in a realistically sustainable and non-invasive manner. I did a vegan run. Minecraft allows us to thrive in our profoundly dull routines where every pointless reward feels like the best thing ever. And maybe for some, it is an imperial wet dream. I guess you make this game, with its limitless potentiality, align with your own preferences, priorities, and notions. Whilst reading these critiques of Minecraft, I found myself wondering about the roots of perfectionism, because perfectionism is a standard that doesn't allow you room to breathe. It's just too objective and rigid. It does not go with the flow. And I guess my subconscious genius, and by subconscious, I mean academic articles, and by genius, I mean ego, was telling me that perfectionism as a trait was a Western standard that spread with colonialism. So this means that ideas are often only validated if they are rooted in European modernity and can be grounded and discussed in ways that fit with Anglophone standards of knowledge production. So these ways of thinking have basically created unrealistically high standards for people that are shaped around privileged white men and their expectations. So basically, perfectionism has become a tool of oppression, something that has allowed a dominant group to reinforce imperialism and capitalism via the creation of an impossible shifting template for what is okay. And this idea of perfectionism as a structuring Western value is something that I particularly see in neoliberal society and like the hellish art world that it produces, because like I said before, the art sector is now highly individualistic, because underneath the emphasis on co-creation and collaboration is a drive to isolate us and then make us compete amongst each other. So I never feel like I can quite shape up in this metric-based, big data-loving art world, because I can't quite express myself in the language that they love, like there's a tension between being perfect and being able to talk about how perfect you are, because, I could make you the best margarita in the world, give it to you, knowing it was the best margarita in the world, and then still panic as you take a sip and shout, sorry if it's shit. But I feel like Minecraft has helped me visualize and see concrete versions of my skills, like skills that I used to be too riddled with self-doubt to talk about. And with Minecraft, I've also learned how to collaborate. I mean, like me and my Discord husband, who I hope you didn't forget about. And I've learned how to schedule even better than before with my gorgeous binder. And it's given me a creative environment, where I am the artist, audience, and collaborator. Me and my Discord husband are stakeholders. We evaluate ourselves 10 out of 10 every time. Sometimes we don't even evaluate ourselves at all. So basically, I don't need a million perfect projects with a million picks of free show of the month to realize that I've got these skills. Translating them from real life to Minecraft and then back again has allowed me to see that I can perfectly slot into whatever skills-based buzzword the Arts Council picks for the latest business plan. So in today's class, we've learned that Minecraft has both helped and worsened my perfectionism trait, because, at first it was like a cure. So like, no more need for Valium, cancels next week's therapy, I'm good. It's helped my perfectionist tendencies and the ones that consume me. And it's encouraged me to just mess around, make mistakes, fix them, or don't, whatever you say goes. Think it's ugly? delete it and start again. Want it bigger? Make it bigger then. But I won't lie, there have been moments where sometimes it's made my perfectionism worse because, you know, as I scroll through the Minecraft subreddit, I feel worthless because my builds weren't good enough. My farm was meager in comparison. And I sat back and ended up thinking, you know, like maybe I just suck at this game and I wish I could make something better. But that's the pleasure of it. Like, you can always make something better. There's so much information. There's so many resources. There's so many tutorials. You can learn a new skill at any point in Minecraft if you can manage to dedicate just a little bit of time to it. And you can always learn something new. So like, you can change direction. Fuck it. You can delete everything and start again if you wanted to. That is allowed. And then when you've nailed it, that feeling of perfection washes over you like a warm bath, because this freedom and release of tension feels amazing, like a discounted massage from a Groupon in like a hotel spa you've never heard of. And then like I realized by releasing this perfectionist desire, I could relax, enjoy the game, build the things I want to build, do the stuff I want to do. So why can't I carry this ethos into my everyday and work life? Because the thing is, I've been trying to, because like it's helped me understand my perfectionism and realize how it acts as a shield and defense mechanism. Because when I've had a bad experience with a gallery, I've reminded myself that like I can't control the people around me or their actions. But as a perfectionist, I can at least be sure that I've created my work, that includes the spreadsheets and the installation, by the way, to a standard that I know is perfect. And that means that I can comfort myself with like the knowledge of like, it's not my work or me, it's them. But at what cost do we go to these lengths? And like, when do we know when to stop pushing? So yeah, in sum, something like Minecraft creates a perfect place for me to feel in control, where the world around me is like haphazard and unpredictable, and also like learn to manage my perfectionist tendencies in real life. And I'm not saying that for anyone watching that you have to go and spend $29.99 on a game and get stuck in, but I'm just saying that like elusive, finally a little bit helpful tool for soothing your noisy brain, like might not actually be yoga or meditation. Like you might have a get out of jail card from committing to journaling or an hour a day of walking, but like actually the thing that actually helped me unconsciously develop some of the robustness that I desperately craved was just like moving little blocks around on a screen. And who knows what your Minecraft could be, basically. Like, I don't have all the answers. Like, just this idea that maybe like one day to deal with perfection is to just find something malleable that you can mold into a fun tool with which to understand what your perfectionist strivings are. Like, I guess it's like if perfectionism was a cigarette, then like Minecraft was my nicotine patch that helped me manage cravings. And like, you probably have something in your life that could be your nicotine patch or your Minecraft to like help you manage perfectionism. Thank you so much.